I found the photo by accident, and in that single frame, my whole life shifted. It was a small JPEG buried in a folder I opened while looking for a receipt. My wife smiling into a camera phone, leaning close to a man I didn't recognize at first. He looked ordinary, the kind of neighbor you see at barbecues. But the angle and the way she tilted her head told me it wasn't random. I blew the image up. The face resolved. It was him, the guy 2 doors down. We'd built a life on trust. We had routines, shared bills, and a marriage people admired. So when small things felt off, late nights at work, a phone face down, a laugh she deleted when I walked in, I chose to believe the benign explanation. I wanted to preserve our life more than I wanted to pry. That was my first mistake. After the photo, I started cataloging clues. I checked calendars, traced timestamps, and watched patterns where there used to be comfort. I found a coffee receipt with a time that didn't match her story, and a message fragment calling him funny in person. Alone, these details looked innocent. Together, they sketched emotional infidelity. Emotional cheating sneaks in through jokes and late texts and becomes a private language. When I asked, "Who is he?" she went silent. Not the thoughtful pause of someone considering an answer, but the flat quiet of someone caught. Her mouth moved, then stillness. That silence spoke loud enough. Her first explanations, a neighborly chat, a block party picture, didn't hold. The more I pressed, the more she retreated into vagueness. The evasions began to feel like a pattern, not a mistake. A photo is proof that doesn't plead. It holds a moment and refuses to be rewritten. Looking at that JPEG, I had to accept that pieces of my wife had been offered elsewhere. Cheating, betrayal, and infidelity stopped being abstract words and became the architecture of my waking hours. I felt a dull, steady grief in my chest and a hot, eruptive anger that made my hands shake. How long had this been going on? Were there other photos? Other messages? The mind churns scenarios and suspicion breeds more questions. I tried to stay calm when I confronted her. "Is this more than friendship?" I asked. She admitted there had been an emotional connection with the neighbor, and then it felt like more at times. She said she'd been lonely and hadn't intended to hurt me. Confession without consequence felt hollow. A heart can be given away in small increments until there's nothing left to protect. I started documenting everything. Screenshots, receipts, timestamps, because when your world tilts, you need facts. I also reached out to a trusted friend and booked a counseling session. Having a record and a support line made decisions less chaotic and gave me a clearer head to consider legal options and next steps. We went to counseling because we needed someone to force clarity. Therapy made the pattern visible and gave us a place to speak without collapsing. I learned the difference between a lapse and a life. I learned people make bad choices for complicated reasons: boredom, desire, the hunger to feel seen. But complexity doesn't erase responsibility. Rebuilding, if it's possible, is about daily acts of transparency. It meant answering hard questions openly and sharing schedules and passwords not as punishment but as proof. It meant showing up for dinners without screens and listening when silence filled the room. For some couples, that scaffolding holds. For others, it arrives too late. There were nights I wanted to expose everything, post the photo, let the world judge. Revenge promises a quick fix, public humiliation of the betrayer, but humiliation rarely heals. I chose restraint. I chose to protect the kids and to keep the slow work of repair private unless privacy became impossible. What helped me was facts before fury, honest counseling, and a commitment to the children's stability. The presence you offer a child often matters more than the noisy moment of betrayal. So, if you find proof like my photo, you'll get advice from everyone. Leave, stay, consult a lawyer. The truth is there's no one-size-fits-all answer. So I'll ask you straight. If you found a photo like mine, what would you do? Would you confront and try to rebuild, or would you walk away? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. And if you want more real stories about betrayal, infidelity, and relationship drama, hit subscribe and stay with us.